When you're on the right side. Rightside Radio. Solid, conservative, and just plain right.
Alabama's syndicated news talk leader, Rightside Radio. Phil Williams here live in the Rightside studios, man. We got the local, the state, the national, covering down on all the issues. And yeah, like the dude just said, solid, conservative, and just plain right. Well, welcome to the middle of the week, like the day of almost days, the day when we like to say that you are halfway to the weekend, and that means it's hump day.
Uh-oh. Guess what day it is? Guess what day it is? Mike. What day is it, Mike? Leslie, guess what today is?
It's hump day.
Whoop, whoop. Welcome to the middle of the week. Congratulations, you are halfway to the weekend, and and Butters is on the board. Hey, buddy, how you doing?
I'm ready for a nice chill day. Got you back in the studio.
Day.
Although you were here, it was almost like not having a guest host. It was just, but it was a lot of fun yesterday.
It was a hoot, and yeah, and then we went to Top of the River last night. They got some steak and grilled catfish or fried catfish, and it was good doings.
That sounds awesome.
I liked having the Yarbroughs here. I think he did a great job too.
I did. We got positive reviews from a bunch of the texts coming in. So.
Well, he did get an A++ from John.
Yeah,
there's that.
Yeah. The guests always have. They always get the edge, but. It's okay. It's for the good of the people.
We don't have any. No, there's no grade jealousy. None.
No. I would not covet anything. That would be wrong.
No, yeah, I thought Ernie did great. I was glad that his cousin Crystal was here with him. I mean, they're both such an encouragement. And I meant what I said on the air too yesterday that early on when this show started, I got a chance to meet them at a political event, and their encouragement. It's one of those things that every once in a while you have a sidebar conversation with people over years. And that little nugget moment sticks out, and that was one of them, was meeting them and their encouragement. And he's just done a great job, in my opinion, done a great job as a state rep, and glad to have him as a resource to the show. So, yeah. All right, we got a great show laid on for you today, by the way. Welcome to Camel Day, Hump Day. 4 o'clock today, that means we also have the Grand Council with Dale Jackson and Jeff Poore. So, yeah, stay tuned for that one. Oh, yeah, there's news, so I'm pretty sure we'll have plenty of things to ping each other with in terms of questions. So Grand Council, 4 o'clock today. And then I got a triple dipper full of stuff, so hit it, man.
The Triple Dipper. 3 stories you've got to know.
That's right, the Triple Dipper, 3 stories, 3 themes, if you will, that you got to know as we run today's show. So the first one just ticks me off. Illegal displacement. Illegal displacement. Have you heard how many places, how many times, including up to this morning, that illegals are being put into places where U.S. citizens are now displaced from? I mean, they're actually moving people out of their routines, sometimes their living quarters, and saying, we got to make space for the illegals. Does that make any sense at all to anybody? Is there anybody out there that believes that that is exactly what should be happening? The idea that our kids should be having to leave their schools or that our veterans leaving their retirement homes? No. This is jacked up. Illegal displacement. I'm going to talk about it in great detail. Probably get kind of animated. Y'all bear with me. I'm going to be honest with you, too. Number 2 on the Triple Dipper might get Butters and I both a bit apoplectic. So I got to go touch base again on this situation with the Secretary of Defense. Y'all, I even got audio clips of like Lieutenant General Keith Kellogg and his commentary on it. This is a big, hairy deal. I don't know if people realize to the extent that it is, but so number 2 on the Triple Dipper is called SecDef AWOL. It's 2 big acronyms. Secretary of Defense went AWOL. SecDef AWOL. He was AWOL. If a junior officer, if Butters or I in our junior grade time, or for that matter, our senior grade time, we were both field grade officers. If we were ever to do the things that just happened, we would probably lose our careers. And yet the SecDef, who is number 2 in the nuclear chain of command, just went AWOL for 5 days. Unconscionable. We're going to talk about it in great detail. That's number 2 on the Triple Dipper. And number 3, Well, so last night there was a result from the election in Senate District 9 in Marshall. I think it's Marshall, DeKalb, and Madison counties. Anyway, congratulations are in order to Representative Wes Kitchens, who is now Senator Wes Kitchens. He will take that seat. I assume he'll take it pretty soon. But the reality is he was the one endorsed by the teachers union, and he won with about 52% of the vote. That's interesting. That also is disheartening to me. It means that the teachers union is clawing its way back. We're going to talk about what that means, a little bit of history to go to it. Number 3 on the Triple Dipper, I'm calling it Teachers Union Republicans. Stay tuned for that. All right, let me jump in here on the Rightside Way monologue, and I remind you guys, too, that Southern Immediate Care is indeed the sponsor of the daily Rightside Way monologue. They're a chain of clinics that covers a huge swath of ground. I mean, they're like Gadsden, Anniston, Attala. They got 6 locations around the Birmingham area, still growing. I mean, this is a great organization. Southern Immediate Care, open 7 days a week, and oh, by the way, owned by a Rightside ruffian, who I just talked to yesterday. Anyway, y'all stay tuned. More on that, Southern Immediate Care, later in the show, but they are the sponsor of the Rightside Way. So, listen, I don't know about y'all, but I love going to the movies. I am still a fan of actual movie theaters, even with on-demand streaming in the comfort of your own home. I mean, to me, there's just something about going to the movie theater that I still really enjoy. Maybe it's because I used to work in a theater and I loved it. The old Madison Twin Theater in what was then known as Parkway City Mall up in Huntsville. Man, the smell of the popcorn, the tearing of actual tickets, the atmosphere of finding your seat, watching the previews, the giant screen, the surround sound. So this past weekend, Charlene and I went to a movie. And it was expensive, to say the least. She hates it every time we get our tickets and pay for our snacks at the concession stand because every single time I have to say something about the price. I mean, it's like a reflex action for me to reach for my wallet while saying something like, holy crap. But this was a new theater, and I got to admit, the heated reclining seats were pretty awesome. The popcorn was fresh. We even had hot dogs and tater tots, and I love tater tots. It was good doings. And then to cap it all off, the movie was good. So I don't know if you've seen it yet, but I highly recommend seeing a movie called The Boys in the Boat. It's the true story of a group of guys at the University of Washington struggling through the Depression era who came out of nowhere to inspire America as they went on to win the gold medal at the 1936 Olympics in Hitler's Germany. I mean, I realized I wanted to see that movie when I saw somebody post on social media. The post I saw simply said something like, I saw The Boys in the Boat. It was a good movie and so refreshing to not have everything that I know and love get beat up on for 2 hours. Well, I mean, at that point, I was in. I mean, they had me at hello. That's the best movie review I could have read. Forget all the lofty critics who decided that maybe the acting was this or the directing was that or the casting was so-so. Whatever. You mean there's a movie out there right now that makes you proud to be an American? A movie that extols the virtues of hard work? A movie that doesn't preach about racism, wokeism, misogynism, and every other ism the left can think up? Man, I'm in. You remember not so long ago when Top Gun Maverick came out? Top Gun Maverick, it put actor Tom Cruise's character in the position of having to teach the next generation what it means to fly like a bat out of hell and put the mission first while still protecting your wingman. Well, Top Gun Maverick quickly became the second highest grossing movie of all time for a worldwide total of over $1.4 billion. Some say that in the wake of the COVID shutdowns that Top Gun Maverick even saved the movie theater industry. That one movie grossed $90 million in its second weekend. I mean, so what's the big deal with that? It was just another military-oriented action movie, right? Well, sure, you could label it that and stop there and you wouldn't be wrong, but you wouldn't be completely right either. You see, Top Gun Maverick was a movie that avoided all the massive amounts of virtue signaling so prevalent in today's Hollywood. It gave the brush off to China. It even put a Taiwanese flag on the back of Pete Mitchell's flight jacket, which ticked off the CCP in real life, to the point that the movie was even banned in China. But it still exceeded all expectations. Virtually every second of Top Gun Maverick made you proud to be an American and proud of the U.S. military, and I'm for that. But liberals, they hated it. Hated it. Liberal hack Matt Gertz, writing for Media Matters, he wrote a hit piece in which he said, here's his quote, "Top Gun Maverick is a success, so right-wing culture warriors are claiming it." Okay. Gertz went on to downplay the fact that testosterone and manhood were actually not dismissed by attempting to say the cast was more diverse than the original movie. Okay. Gertz also pointed out that the movie never really says America is good, so it's not really a pro-America movie. But listen, I agree with conservative pundit Monica Crowley, who said very succinctly that Top Gun Maverick's success with the audience, it was because, in her words, quote, "Even though it's set in 2022, it catapults us back to the mid-1980s, when we had a real president, and men were men, and there was an unabashed pride in America." Let that sink in for a minute. And so, yes, this past weekend, Charlene and I enjoyed the movie The Boys in the Boat because it was all of that without the fighter jets. A true story, a story of hardship and hard work, a story of rallying for a cause bigger than yourself, a story of Americans cheering for Americans and standing proudly when their flag is flown, a story of winning against the odds because that's who we are. The movie follows 8 young guys. The main character is one named Joe Rance. Rance had been abandoned by his family when he was 14 during the Depression. He somehow scratched out a living. He put himself through high school while living in an abandoned shack and then living in an old junk car. Against all odds, he earned admission to the University of Washington, but he was about to be put out for not being able to pay his tuition. And that's when a friend told him that there was a paying job and a scholarship available for anybody who could make the university rowing team. Well, he'd never rowed a day in his life, but he knew how to work hard. It reminds me of my own grandfather. My granddaddy was a general officer in the Army. He got his commission at Auburn around the same time as the events of The Boys in the Boat. I asked my grandfather once how he decided to enter the military and get his commission through ROTC. He said, "Boy, they said they'd pay me $12 a month." Well, that was Joe Rance's story with rowing. They said they would feed him and house him and let him go to school, and that was enough. But he also learned what it meant to be on a team, to work for a cause, to be cheered on and to be encouraged. The story is really epic because those 8 Depression-era boys shocked the world when they won gold for the U.S. against Hitler's Aryan athletes. Y'all, we need more movies like that, movies that inspire. And by the way, our history is full of them. There are stories of faith and family and patriotism and victory. Those stories resonate with crowds. Look at Top Gun Maverick. Stories that show us what that former Hollywood great Ronald Reagan described when he said, "The American dream is not that every man must be level with every other man. The American dream is that every man must be free to become whatever God intends he should become." So yeah, The Boys in the Boat may not reflect current political correctness, but I believe it does illustrate a sentiment that is still embraced by the vast majority of Americans who are tired of just being told the opposite by the woke mob. A sentiment that America is, by the way, great, that anything is possible. A movie that celebrates the good and who we are as a nation, as a people. So yeah, you play me a movie like that, and I'll pay the price of admission any day. And that's a wrap for The Rightside Way. Good flick, I recommend it. The Boys in the Boat, true story. True story. I'm sure there was a little bit of Hollywood mixed in here and there, but you know what? It was clean. You could take your kids to it. We enjoyed it thoroughly. It made you feel good when you watched it. It made you proud. And by the way, we have lots of those stories in our society. We need more movies that talk about them. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio. Y'all stay tuned. We'll be right back. We are back. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio, solid conservative and just plain right. Just, I mean, like, wow, making it cool to be a conservative. I just saw a couple of texts started to drop in. So, yeah, the text lines are open, 833-687-4448. That's 833-68-RIGHT. Call it or text it, same number for both. Mark from Red Bay heard me talk about Top of the River a while ago. He says, love me some Top of the River. I go to the one in Mitchie, Tennessee. I didn't know there was one in Tennessee. I thought we had three. I thought there was Guntersville, Anniston, and Gadsden, but apparently we got one in Tennessee.
Yeah, maybe they've...
Some north of the border, top of the river. Huh.
My gut can only take that about once a year. So
You got to be careful. I actually, believe it or not, they have a good steak. So I had a steak last night.
I honestly, until y'all talked about it last night, I didn't even know that they had steak.
They does.
They
does, man. They bring out that cornbread cooked in a black skillet, iron skillet, and then a batch of slaw, little tin plates. Scoop it out and get you some of that hors d'oeuvre.
I can put a recorded show on right now, and we can head on out.
Cornbread's calling my name. John from Huntsville says, Phil, fantastic monologue, and I was just wondering if you take requests for future dippers, as I've been craving some more adventures in woke world and a side of home fries. Brother, you are timely because I believe that both shall be in your future in the very near term. So I was just thinking the same thing. I kind of held off on woke world, and you know what's funny? Adventures in Woke World was always a little tongue-in-cheek. It was always a little bit funny. I've not been able to find any funny stuff like that in a while. It's like everything's so serious. It's been woke, but it's been serious. Like, that's hurting people, and that's not right, and that's being done to kids. And
yeah, I feel like most days there's some adventure into Woke World. Scary adventures.
There's an adventure. There's an expedition. We know that. But, John, it is coming, brother. I think it's time. I'm going to have to dig out some stuff that'll make you laugh at wokeness. But right now, I just haven't had any laughable stories. Cameron from Decatur says, I also love Top of the River, and you're right about those good movies that are worth the price of admission. Puts me in mind of Chariots of Fire and Cinderella Man. Two awesome movies. Two classics, both of which were true. Did you ever see Cinderella Man?
Yeah. That's the boxing.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yes. That was an excellent one. And then, of course, Chariots of Fire. And then what I loved that, and those are true stories as well. This Boys in the Boat was a true story, and they really did honor to the characters themselves. Because I went and looked up a couple of the real life folks, and it was pretty cool. But yeah, George Clooney actually produced and directed it, and I know he's as liberal as they come, but he did not do anything in that movie that made me go, oh crap. There was none of that. So yeah,
with all this hoopla around the Star Wars director, I'm kind of I'm interested to see if they buy like the Rocky franchise and put an activist in charge of he's just going to ruin everything.
Yeah, Ivan Drago goes trans. I will break you. That's awful. You know what, though? I did see this morning. I don't know if it's changed, if it's a different one, because I know Lee's the one who brought that up last week about the Palestinian feminist activist who's going to be the director of Star Wars. This morning it was announced, though, that Jon Favreau is going to be directing one of the next Star Wars movies. And he's the one that directed Iron Man. I forgot. He did Elf. I mean, he does some good stuff.
Disney may have already had an additional drop in their stock value.
They might have looked at that and went, oh crap. Where's Favreau? Quick, break glass, get Favreau. In case of emergency, bring out Favreau. All right, we got more on this. I got some breaking news before I even get to my dippers we got to talk about. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio. Y'all stay tuned. We'll be right back. Solid conservative, just plain right. We are back. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio, solid conservative and just plain right. I mean, like covering down on some major ground across the northern half of the most beautiful state in the nation. This one right here. Y'all, I mean, this show goes way down south of Birmingham, up north of Huntsville, Tuscaloosa, back to Gadsden, parts of Georgia, Tennessee, even Mississippi, all thrown in, just for good measure. I got two more texts, and then I'm going to jump on a breaking news story. It's kind of breaking. It's been out for about a couple hours. But JT Lacey Springs says you're going on a movie tangent. Quigley Down Under. Oh, that's a good one.
That's a good one.
That's a good one. That is. I love Tom Selleck, too, by the way. That's Tom Selleck at his best right there. He made a good cowboy. He just did. John from Harvest says, Adventures in Woke World is funny when they are not in power. When they're in power like now, it's not because it's serious. Yeah, that's even the ones who aren't necessarily in power, but they're getting away with it. That's what I keep finding stories. So yeah, someday soon we're going to find another monkeypox or something else to laugh at. Anyway. Adventures in Woke World is coming back soon, I guarantee. So here's a breaking news story for you. I don't know if you saw this or not, but Hunter Biden. Man, that guy's a train wreck. Hunter Biden. You may recall that just a few weeks ago, how long has it been? A month and a half? He was subpoenaed for a deposition. And so let's make sure we clear the air on what's what. So a closed-door deposition is not uncommon. That is where, without the hindrances of the press and without the grandstanding statements being made by various people who wanted to support and defend or, demean and terrorize, all that kind of grandstanding goes out the window. You're in a closed-door, sworn statement testimony, and you're providing answers to questions with the presence of an attorney to advise you when you have rights and you're not, don't answer this, that's a violation, just plead the fifth, whatever. He was supposed to come and give sworn testimony in a closed-door deposition. Do you know how many times Trump's kids did? Something like 40 hours of testimony given by Trump siblings or Trump children. Unreal. Hunter Biden? Nope. What did he do? He showed up. He gave a little press conference. He showed up late, by the way. Then he gave a little press conference outside where he said his side of the story and left. Defying the subpoena, he just left. He was very cagey. He did not show up on the steps of the House side of the Capitol because technically he would have been subject to the House. What do they call him? Something at arms. What's the word I'm looking for there? Not sergeant at arms. Maybe it is sergeant at arms. Anyway,
that's all that comes to my mind.
House enforcement. Their jurisdiction. He went over to the Senate side and stood on the Senate steps because he knew that they wouldn't do a thing because Schumer controls that one. And he left. So today was a hearing, and it was a House Oversight Committee was having a hearing on the articles of, drawing up the articles on whether or not to hold him in contempt. Hunter Biden showed up for the hearing. Kid you not. Hunter Biden and his two lawyers, his lawyers are Abby Lowell and Kevin Morris, and they are, the kind of wild-haired, super criminal defense attorneys. He's got the big best ones he can find. They show up and sit there in the gallery glaring with their arms crossed, like they're there for a purpose, like to stare everybody down. Threw the room into chaos. Headline on Fox News right now says Hunter Biden makes a shocking appearance at his own contempt hearing. He was not supposed to be there. He was not called to be there. It was not time for him to be there. It was also not the purpose of that hearing for him to be there. He showed up. Why? It's grandstanding. He showed up, and apparently a few key Democrats knew it was going to happen. Go figure. Few key Democrats, they knew it was going to happen, and they had their prepared statements. And they went on and on about, you have been demanding that he show up and give testimony. Well, here he is. Well, that is such crap. So let me tell you, I've been lawyering now about 20 years, right? I can distinctly recall more than once. There was this one case. I had a case once that lasted 7 years. If you get down to it, that's a third of my legal career. I had one case that lasted 7 years. I want to say we had something like 12 separate depositions. We mediated 3 times. We were in court constantly, and I was wearing out these big law firms from Birmingham and Mobile, and they hated it. And twice we went to do depositions, and they would try to pull a fast one on me, because they know what happens is you go in prepared, right? The lawyer comes in, if you stack the depositions and you're going to see witness A and then witness B, you prepare your questions for witness A, and you might be laying the foundation for what you're then going to ask witness B, because you're going to say, in the previous deposition, which you were in the room for, you heard him say yada, yada, yada. So what do? Oh, A can't be here for a while, so let's go ahead and start with B. Excuse me, I'm the one that issued the subpoenas. You don't get the luxury of changing it. Well, he's not available. I mean, he's at a doctor's appointment or something. We can't get him. He'll be here around noon. So what do? Then you're stuck. They pulled a fast one, and they got the. So I said, well, you know what? You guys get to sit in the other room while I retool my strategy. How about that? And I did. I had to retool my strategy and get ready. That's exactly what Hunter Biden is doing. He knew that what would happen today is if he showed up like this, he would be able to say later on, we showed up and they wouldn't question me. Well, nobody knew you were coming, Goomba, and nobody knew you were going to be there. Your attorneys are pulling a fast one, a PR stunt. And by the way, you were not going to be given the luxury of having all your Democrat buddies come to your aid in a public hearing without first doing your closed-door deposition. Because the closed-door deposition is the one in which later on they'll say, during your deposition, you said, and then cross-examine him in the public eye. This was crap. This was crap on the part of his attorneys. It was crap on the part of Hunter Biden. And don't tell me for a second that Joe Biden didn't know it was happening. Absolute crap. If a Republican did that, the press would still be excoriating him right now. It'd be international news. They would be calling for heads to roll. But no. You can be Hunter Biden. You can crack pipes and whores. You can do all you want to do. You can video it. You can just pretend the video evidence is not real. You can do all the stuff. You can get money, millions from China, millions from other foreign nations, millions from Ukraine. You can have witnesses that testify to what you said and did. You can even get your daddy, the vice president, on the phone with your clients. You can fly to your business meetings on Air Force Two. It's awesome because you're Hunter Biden. It's okay. And then you can show up and sit there and look like you're somebody at a hearing that you weren't called to, despite the fact that you defied the subpoena on the previous hearing and now claim victory in some way. What are you doing? What do you think?
I think the thing that rolls through my mind is you play games like this, you're just going to open up more doors for more silly shenanigans and just a giant waste of time. Because I mean, you're gonna push to where, okay, well now Republicans are got to do, not going to be as bad, but we're just a never ending cycle. Quit playing games. Like, come follow the procedures,
do your thing,
do the thing. And move on. Like, it's so childish. And I think about, like, how do I look at my kids and be like, yeah, these are the adults that are running the country. And this is what you should, this is the way we're going to behave.
It's a complete disrespect for the American public.
It's awful.
It's a complete disrespect for the American public. They absolutely could care less what your opinion is. It's about what they want and what they're going to do. I mean, well, and granted, that I realize that drama follows the Trump family right now. It just does, and a lot of that's not self-inflicted. Some of it is. But think about this. How many false allegations do they have to endure, and yet Donald Trump Jr., Eric Trump, Ivanka Trump, and Jared Kushner all showed up and gave their closed-door deposition testimonies without quibbling. They just did it. And Hunter Biden wants to play these games. But he's Hunter Biden, so he can do it.
Yeah. And so now their press, I'm sure, is going to argue about whether he could or couldn't do that and all. Like, it's not. This is not about whether you could. Oh, is that a legal thing? Or it's about should you do that?
Yeah.
Quit. That's not what we need. Ugh.
No, and I'm going to be honest with you. Hunter Biden is still an anchor. Right now, the issues are anchors around the Biden administration. I mean, the southern border is becoming more and more of an anchor every day. But Hunter Biden, you cannot deny that he's not an anchor to his father's reelection. Okay. I'm going to go out on a limb, and I'm going to say that sometime soon, there's probably going to be a expose on something else about Hunter Biden is going to be found, and then put him on suicide watch. Watch out. Did I just say that? I did. I don't wish that on him. Not at all. I don't wish that on anybody. I would not wish that on my worst enemy. But what I'm saying is they need him to go away. Whether he chooses it or someone helps him with it, a la Clinton family, all I'm saying is keep your eyes on Hunter's well-being, because I'm pretty sure he's an anchor right now, and they need him out of the way.
Well, and then on top of all that, like you talked about the border. So now our politicians are sitting there dealing with somebody's kid.
Yeah.
Like, how about let's deal with some real issues.
Great point. Nothing like, war in Ukraine, war in Israel. Nothing like Iran about to get a nuclear missile. Nothing like the economy or the energy sector, or heck, I don't know. Where's the SecDef been for a week? The nuclear chain of command is broken. We got to deal with friggin' president's kid.
Yeah, it's so unnecessary.
It's really pretty.
Where are
sick.
the adults?
It's pretty sick. It's pretty sick. All right. And by the way, the picture of him sitting there with his lawyers, is he as old as his dad now? I mean, the guy, I guess, the reality is his dad's 81. He's probably in his 60s, wouldn't you think? He looks like he's aged a little more than that. I mean, old boy is...
Well, I'm pretty sure some
he's
hard drugs tend to put some years on you, right?
On his way out the door, by the way, members of the press were shouting questions because he got up and left in the middle of the hearing. He showed up, sat there, made a scene, got up, left, and on the way out the door, one of the reporters shouted out, Hunter, are you on crack today? And that question obviously went unanswered. All right, there's your breaking news. Hunter Biden throwing a session of the of Congress's oversight committee into chaos by showing up when he wasn't supposed to, and Democrats knew it in advance, took advantage of the opportunity. Let's go to break, brother. We'll do that right now. We'll come right back, and I'm going to jump into Dipper number 1. Illegal displacement. Brace yourselves. It's going to make you mad. We'll be right back. And we are back. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio, solid, conservative, and just plain right. I mean, like making common sense like a superpower. Man, Butters was just telling me how cold it's going to be. Starting this weekend, you said? Is that what it's going to be? Good gosh. That's
Yeah, I'm seeing a high of 29 on next Tuesday.
on Tuesday, you said, or Sunday? I thought it was Sunday.
Sunday, it's dipping down into the 20s.
Are we looking at snow?
At night. No, it's all
Just
yeah.
frigid weather that freezes everything it knows.
Well, and it makes sense to get that cold, and it's no clouds and all that kind of stuff.
What in January of last year we had that super cold snap down in the single digits, like high of 9 degrees one day. I think it was.
Yeah.
That's okay. So that's like frozen tundra cold right there. There's something different about Alabama cold because it's got that humidity in the air that seeps into your bones.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
I know what Charlene's going to say. You've been saying you're going to get the fireplace ready. Yes, dear. So I'm pretty sure that's what I'm doing.
That's probably going to be a good plan.
That's a good plan. I got a few text messages to catch up on as we jump in here, but Marcus from Huntsville, flipping back to that Tom Selleck discussion, he said, I watched Quickly Down Under again last week. I forgot how dark that movie gets with the imagery and the things that happen to the Aborigines, but Roy was a good guy. Roy, that's what she called him, Roy. Yeah, yes, it was. Doman from Harvest says, if you as a barrister advised your client to ignore a subpoena, can you be charged? No, you have an opportunity to try and move to quash a subpoena. But generally speaking, you do respond to a subpoena. And I can tell you right now, what they also did was they technically responded by just having them show up a little bit later in the day. You understand, don't you? I mean, it was passive aggressive. It was pretty sick. By the way, I won that case, just so you know. Doman from Harvest, thank you very much. Daniel from Tullahoma, Tennessee. Oh, he's probably asking about Hunter Biden, though. Can you? All right. So, it's a great point. I would not be a bit surprised if there might not be, some grievance that can be filed with the Bar Association in the states where they're licensed. I don't know. It's a great question, Doman. I don't know. Daniel from Tullahoma says Hunter blew off the closed door questioning because he would be under oath. Then he goes in front of Congress. And then when he goes in front of Congress, they can use that info against him and catch him in a lie. Exactly. It'll be sworn testimony in both cases. But what you always want when you go into the more public venue of trial is the opportunity to then cross-examine based upon previous testimony. So, I've used it many times. You walk into court, you got the deposition in your hand, you say, well, where were you on the night of so-and-so? Oh, I'm sorry. Can we turn to page 17 of your prior deposition? You realize you were under oath then too, right? You said you were here. Why did you say now that you're there?
It's so hard to remember all those lies.
Yeah, exactly. Just tell the truth, man. Truth doesn't change. Ken from Harvest says, we got a lot of textures from Harvest today. He says, could the sergeant at arms detain Hunter since he was at the House of Representatives? My thinking was yes. I don't know that for a fact, but my thinking was yes, that the sergeant at arms could have detained him. But since he has not been found in contempt yet, I don't know that for a fact.
And I'm not 100% sure that PR that would come from that wouldn't be. That's pretty easily spun in some way. Do I feel like it should happen? Yes, but okay. Well, what does that look like for thrown in the media in front of leftists and
I don't know. Barry from Athens was watching Where Eagles Dare. That's a great movie. Where Eagles Dare, starring Clint Eastwood and Richard Burton, the head of the British MI6 agency, was introducing Eastwood, who was the only American in the team of agents. He told the MI6 guys, as you can see, Eastwood, is wearing the American Ranger Division markings. I think that speaks for itself. Outstanding. Thank you, Barry. Appreciate you. All right, number one triple dipper. I'm going to introduce it right now. We're going to kick in right after the top of the hour. But listen, this is a big, hairy deal. Illegal displacement is what I'm calling it. I don't know if you heard this or not, and I'll give you the details in more after the hour, the top of the hour. But we just had a situation yesterday. Cold snap coming through. I get it. It's a dangerous time for people that are homeless. I get it. It's always been that way. They set up warming tents and warming stations, except that in this case, it's 2,000 illegals that are being displaced into a high school. The kids are being told not to come to school. They're going to have to do remote work from home so these illegals can be housed. And that to me is absolutely wrong. But it's the kind of thing that's happening everywhere. Do you know that we've made available for taxpayer-funded housing vouchers for illegals? Did you know that we've got opportunities right now for illegals to take over entire airports and terminals? Did you know that we're looking at things like, oh, I don't know, how about violations of federal law that they would normally hold you and I to on environmental concerns about setting up things in state parks and in national parks? It goes on and on and on. We are being illegally displaced by illegal immigrants. And there has got to be a resolution sometime soon. The House passed a bill to try and stop federal funds. Did it go anywhere with Schumer? Of course not. We'll talk about it more in a minute. Illegal displacement. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio. Y'all stay tuned. We will be right back.
You're listening live to Rightside Radio with Phil Williams. It's hard to go wrong when you're on the right side. Rightside Radio. Solid, conservative, and just plain right.
Alabama's syndicated news talk leader, Rightside Radio. Phil Williams here live in the Rightside studios. Man, we got the local, the state, the national, sometimes the international, and yeah, like the dude just said, solid, conservative, and just plain right. Well, welcome to hour number two. I got a little ahead of myself. It's hour number 2, which still feels like, where did hour number 1 go? Who took hour 1? Where'd it go?
It's okay. I give you Army guys, sometimes counting can be tough.
Well, I usually have to skip ahead because that's what Air Force and Navy always flies on, is an hour difference than everybody else. Okay, so number 1, triple dipper, illegal displacement. I don't know if you heard this or not. Just to give you some backstory before we jump into the displacements themselves. The epic levels of illegal immigration coming across our southern border, and by the way, it's an invasion. Let's call it what it really is. It's an invasion. If 304,000 troops marched across the border, it'd be a whole new day. Well, 304,000 illegals streamed across our southern border in the month of December alone. 304,000. Y'all, we're at almost 1/3 of a million in 1 month. That's unsustainable. It's unreal. Well, then there's the question of where are they going? Where the frick are they all going? I mean, where do these people, they're not all still sitting in Eagle Pass, Texas. Story on Fox News came out 2 days ago. Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas of the Department of Homeland Security told his border agents that, the number is about 85% of them are in fact being released into the interior of the United States. So yeah, that's 304,000 people in 1 month. We're looking at millions just during the Biden administration's term. Such gross negligence. Anyway, Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas on Monday admitted to Border Patrol agents the current rate of release for illegal immigrants apprehended at the southern border is above 85%. Mayorkas made the remarks when meeting privately with agents in Eagle Pass, Texas, according to 3 Border Patrol sources who were in the room and heard the remarks themselves. You know why they're telling the press? Because they're ticked off. They're tired of it. They are worn out. They are done in. The Customs and Border Patrol is the most overworked, underappreciated organization probably in the U.S. inventory right now. The conversation happened during the muster for agents in the busy border area. Fox is told that Mayorkas was asked directly about comments he made on Special Report last week when he was asked by Brett Baer about reporting that over 70% of migrants are released into the interior each day. He said then, "It would not surprise me at all. I know the data." Okay, great. He said, by the way, "We are enforcing the laws that Congress has passed." No, sir. No, sir. You're not. Fox is told that on Monday, agents pushed him on those remarks during the meeting, saying the number is even higher than 70%, and Mayorkas acknowledged that there was a release rate of above 85%. This isn't an admission on their part. This is no longer we didn't realize it was that big. This is not a, oh, holy cow, that happened? No, this is we're tracking it. Oh, by the way, we're helping them. So where are they going? Well, they're going to all of our communities. And by the way, it's not just the big cities of San Francisco, LA, New York, Chicago. No, it's small town America. Everywhere. You cannot have millions. Picture this. Millions of people released into the interior of the United States. There's only 50 states. Start doing the math. Well, they're coming in droves. Some states more than others, but they're coming in droves. Every state is a border state right now. So did you know, I did not know this. I did a little deep dive, and this is what I do, so you don't have to, right? I do this resourcing of the show. How about this? In May of 2021, Fox Business ran an article on something that most people didn't know was out there. says the Department of Housing and Urban Development had made its changes to the Emergency Housing Voucher Program to make it easier for illegal immigrants to receive free housing on the taxpayer dime. We're not even talking about shelters now. Now we're talking about housing vouchers that allow you to go into, I would assume, things like Section 8 housing and other opportunities for reimbursement to your landlord. It was all part of the American Rescue Plan for COVID. Did it really rescue anybody from COVID? Did it rescue the economy from COVID? Did it do anything worthwhile except drive the economy into inflation? I don't think so. $80 billion Congress spent on that one during the Nancy Pelosi era. $5 billion of it was for emergency housing vouchers because, you know, COVID made people homeless. Did it really? To be distributed to people experiencing homelessness, victims of human trafficking, and survivors of domestic violence. Because, you know, everything got worse during COVID, I guess. The vouchers can be used to pay for any housing unit where the landlord will accept them. Recipients pay 30% of their income toward their rent. The remainder is picked up by the government. So a 70% of your rent voucher. Tenants who do not have an income need not pay anything. So the easy thing to do there is just not work. Get you a voucher. It'll cover 100%. Why work when you can get free housing? But what happened was HUD, in May of 2021, removed the requirement that you had to provide proof of citizenship to join the program. So they got it passed in March. And look at that. 2 months later, suddenly, vouchers required no proof of citizenship. Pray tell, Butters. Why would that be? I know, I'm using pray tell again. He shakes his head at me now. HUD is consequently waiving the requirement to obtain and verify Social Security documentation or other documentation evidencing eligible citizenship status before admitting the family to the program, wrote Dominique Bloom, the General Deputy Assistant Secretary for Public and Indian Housing. Now, this is unreal. So I wonder how many homeless Americans that need a housing voucher are going to find that the cap has been exceeded because illegals were given the vouchers. You don't have to have a proof of citizenship. Are you here? That's all we need. Here's your voucher. Do you have a job? You don't have to. Why work? Go live. It'll be great.
Do we need to bus the homeless folks down to the Rio Grande, have them swim across and then swim back, and bam, they've got housing?
That's a workable solution. Could we go ahead and describe that? Oh, I'm sorry. Too many of them are on fentanyl, which also came across the southern border.
Thought I was onto something there.
Yeah, you had a solution for a minute there. But your point is well taken, though. I mean, so we have this whole thing is on illegal displacement. So if you're an American citizen and you're homeless, you are right now playing second fiddle to illegals who are coming in with no homes. By their very nature, they're not going to be homeowners or have a home to go to because they're here illegally. They broke the law to get here. They came in with whatever's on their back. And they walked across the Rio Grande, literally, because it's shallow enough, they're walking across. They walked across that muddy river. They climbed through the barbed wire, over the obstacles, and then surrendered themselves to the first law enforcement they could find and were given free housing. How about this? States are starting to freak out. I bring you this one courtesy of the Washington Examiner from October of this past year. Democrat-run sanctuary state Massachusetts will soon close its doors to immigrants who illegally crossed the border and were released into the United States only to travel to that New England state in need of housing, work, and food. Governor Maura Healey issued a blunt warning to families across the state in need of shelter that it would put its foot down in terms of assisting people find overnight housing despite its shelter requirement law. Now, let me make sure you heard that. She put her foot down, they say, to families across the state in need of shelter because they were exceeding their capabilities because of illegals. So if you're a homeless family, if you're American citizens but you're a homeless family in Massachusetts, you may be out of luck. They have a cap of 7,500 statewide, 7,500 family housing capacities. At present, this is October, they had 6,945 families, or 23,000 people, in the family shelter. It says families are then also being held in motels, college dormitories, and impromptu shelters. Of those 4, only one of those was set up for illegals. The rest are places where U.S. citizens had to be displaced. Motels, hotels, college dormitories. Are you hearing that? I'd love to know what the alumni think of not being able to get their kids into a dorm because it's housing illegals. And I'm wondering how many of those are public institutions. And are they? Oh, by the way, are they public institutions that built the dorms and did so on the public dime, but are now making money off the government contract to house illegals in their dorms?
Well, and what does that mean for just the general like safety and atmosphere of the campus and all of that, all the other stuff that comes with it?
You bring a great point. So you would question whether or not the Department of Homeland Security might go, oh shoot, we didn't know that was happening. Well, no. It says in the same article that at Governor Healy's request, a team from DHS visited Massachusetts in early October to see what they were facing with illegal immigrants. I feel certain nothing happened. Healy and Representative Jake Auchincloss, who's a Democrat out of Massachusetts, are calling on President Joe Biden back in October to help the state. Massachusetts became the latest in August of last year to declare a state of emergency over its inability to handle thousands of illegal immigrants, saying, we need the Biden administration to compensate for the tremendous cost of sheltering the migrants. So what we have here is a displacement of American homeless. All right, we're going to come back from this break. Let's move into, I don't know, maybe not the homeless. How about just school students? How about kids who can't go to their Little League games? How about airports where you can no longer fly out? It's massive, and it's illegally displacing U.S. citizens. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio. Y'all stay tuned. We'll be right back. We are back. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio, solid conservative and just plain right. Like saving the world, one soundbite at a time. I am in number one of the Triple Dipper. We had some breaking news earlier, so I had like a mini dipper out of it, talking about Hunter Biden. And then now we're on number one, which is illegal displacement, talking about the number of illegal aliens flooding across our borders that are not just flooding across, but then they are also displacing U.S. citizens from their access to normal routines, to their schools, to the facilities that their tax dollars have paid for. They're being completely displaced. Not only that, but they're also disrupting the economies in certain areas. It is unbelievable what our country, our communities are having to sustain. Before we go any further, though, I got a call on the line real quick. Is that Jeff from Indiana? How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing pretty good, Phil. I'm in a big vehicle here, single occupancy, I guess you'd say. So, but you've got that big Rightside radio studio there. I mean, how many illegals you know to take in? I mean, you could put up a lot of people in that building.
Yeah, well, you know what? Gosh, let me pray over that and get back to you. No.
Oh, come on, man. Do your part. Do your part.
Oh, God. It's small town, too, and that's one of the things that really gets me. I don't know what y'all are seeing in Indiana, but it's happening in every state for the most part.
I mean, I'm in a rural. We haven't really seen that much around where I'm at because, I mean, there's already, the illegals that's there is basically doing the farm jobs and building trades. I guess I had my roof put on Mom's house here the other day and everything, but there was one guy that spoke English, and I guess the rest of them couldn't speak a word. So
But you know what though, and we're used to seeing some of those Hispanic crews that come through, and they actually do have a great work ethic, and they're working hard. But we're watching our southern border right now being just ransacked with people from Nigeria and from China and from Vietnam and from. We're not seeing what we used to see, which was folks from Central and South America, sometimes Mexico, coming north looking for work. We're just seeing people that are just looking to come here and displace us.
Yeah, and that's what I want. Let me borrow your lawyer hat there for a second. Now, the illegals coming in from other countries, other than being national Canadian or Mexican nationals, how can they do that when they've already crossed the different countries they could have sought asylum in, but didn't, and coming here just for How can you seek asylum here? Is what I'm getting at is how can you seek asylum here when you're lying and just saying I want to have a job, I want to live in the United States?
Yeah, because you are absolutely correct. How can they? Because the Biden administration is ignoring it, despite the fact that Mayorkas says they are enforcing Congress's law. The laws on granting asylum say that if you left your country of origin, that the first country you went to, you have to show that you attempted to receive asylum there. They're not. They're passing through any number of countries to get to us. So we're abusing the asylum laws under the Biden administration. I say we're not doing it. You and I are not doing it, but you know what I mean.
And that's what I'm trying to get at. Could a court order? Everybody's got all these asylum cases, court dates and everything. Now, if you're not a Mexican or a Canadian, can they just take it and say, well, this is a fraud on the court. You've made a false statement, and we're not going to see your case, and we're going to have you deported?
I would love to believe they could, but the DOJ is opposing every effort to do that kind of thing. I mean, the DOJ right now is suing Texas for like the third time just for daring to say we're going to put up a border. No, you're not. What do you mean? It's our border. Nope, that's our job. But you're not doing your job. So, but the reality is, I think the DOJ would oppose any effort to try and bring that to bear. We got to do everything we can to change things through this next election, man.
Yeah, and I'm afraid we're going to have a lot of Canadians seeking asylum, and which they probably should be granted because Trudeau is basically a tyrant up there, isn't he? So yeah. I think they have a legitimate claim for asylum, some of them. I
think most of those that are leaving socialist countries don't want to go to Canada. And by the way, that brings up a point, though. We're seeing a major It's not like southern border in terms of mass numbers, but in terms of percentage, we're seeing a major uptick on our northern border because we've got people that are flying into Canada who has fairly permissive travel, entry requirements, and then they're just traversing their way down through our ports of entry into the northern side. And like the state of Maine is saying, they got a real problem. Not like Eagle Pass, Texas, but they got a real problem in the northern border too.
And that's a very long, unenforceable border. I mean, it's the length of the United States. So
it is.
I don't see how you could even try to enforce anybody coming in through Canada. So, but I mean, there's no way that we're going to be able to sustain what we're having. I mean, just the housing alone. Let's say if they were all ordered to, how come we don't have a refugee camp basically? Because they're not citizens. They're not due to be released in the United States without, how come they're not have refugee camps?
Yeah, you make another great point, which the music's playing so long I have to go, but the refugee camps, I don't know, maybe they don't want it for bad optics. They'd rather put them in a hotel in Brooklyn where no one can now rent a room than to actually have tents. Hey, I got to go, brother. Be safe on the road. All right. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio, coming up. We'll be right back. Rightside Radio, solid conservative, just plain right. And we are back. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio, solid conservative and just plain right. Just, like covering down on some major ground across the northern half of the most beautiful state in the nation. This one right here, Alabama. Y'all don't talk about this show. It goes like way down south of Birmingham, up north of Huntsville, Tuscaloosa, back to Gadsden, parts of Georgia, Tennessee, and Mississippi. All thrown in just for good measure. By the way, before I go to the phones, I will tell you there is a breaking news right now on Fox up on one of the big screens here in the studio. At 5 p.m. Eastern Time today, which is 4 o'clock, it says that Chris Christie intends to make an announcement in New Hampshire. Speculation abounds that he'll be ending his campaign for the presidency right before the Iowa caucuses, which would then in turn give a bump to somebody. I don't know that he's polling that high in Iowa right now anyway, but the Iowa caucuses are next week. So Chris Christie, special announcement coming up top of the hour. We'll tell you what it is when it comes. In the meantime, going to the phones right now. Wolverine Dan, where have you been, my brother? Did we lose him?
As a president and take up blowing paint through straws.
Wolverine, hey man, you weren't quite on the air yet when you started talking. I missed the first. How you doing, by the way?
All right, okay. I thought you were going to announce that Joe Biden is going to retire and then take up a hobby and then make a little extra money blowing paint through straws.
Now, I don't know that he can even blow paint through straws right now. Does he have the wind for that? I'm not even sure.
Well, he's got a lot of one. He's been blowing a lot of smoke up my butt.
Well, how you been, man? We hadn't talked to you in way too long.
Phil, I've been a little busy lately, if you don't notice.
Cheering for Michigan?
Oh, yeah, baby. Woo! My new name now for a full year, Phil, is Natty Danny.
Oh, my gosh. Well, you know what? I'm an Auburn fan, but I still refuse to call you Natty Danny, just so you know.
Oh, I know. Everybody, I say that to people down here, and hell no, I ain't going to do that. No, but I called, and I haven't listened to a lot of political stuff. I haven't been watching it. I wish you would go to sports, because I'd love to listen to you in sports, but be a sports guy. But you know what? I'll say this. I haven't listened much, I'll be honest with you. And you know what? And the sad part is I won't hear you that much, which I don't. But it's awfully nice not to even listen to the garbage that's spewing, not from you, my friend, but from these other left-wing tree-hugging lovers, and not to mention the political swamp talk that I don't have to, force feed down my mouth. Bottom line is, Phil, it's not a bad gig. Think about maybe taking up sports, and then maybe you can just get rid of all this crap.
It is funny you should mention that. We actually had somebody come on the show yesterday, and we began to be curious about whether we could add sports somewhere in the lineup. But right now, we will continue with the current theme of conservative news talk, patriotism, and community action.
Well, speaking of that, I appreciate your service every day. Every time I wake up in the morning, how much I appreciate sacrifices that you left your family to fight for this country, be with and do things for us, and the people that lost their life unselfishly to fight for our country. That means everything. And I told the call screener, which I said to him, I said, listen, bottom line, I'm grateful to be in the USA. I was born in the USA. And, man, if I was an immigrant, I'd do everything I can legally to get my butt in this country because it's the greatest country in the world. And y'all wake up every day and thank God and kiss the ground you walk on that you're in the greatest country in the world.
You are absolutely right. On the one hand, I recognize they're here illegally, but do you fault them for wanting to come here from where they were? And
not at all.
Not at all. Not at all. But the reality is, we still got to be a nation of laws at some point. We got to get this under control. Man.
Well, in closing, I'll say go blue. I know you don't want to say the N-word now that I know you don't like that, but I am that N-word. I am that right now. So.
Wolverine Dan, don't be so long, man. Get on back on the air sometime soon.
All right, brother.
All right, we'll see you. A couple of text messages before I go forward. By the way, Butters, I'm not sure when's the last time he called in, but Wolverine Dan is often a regular, and we've probably not had him on in about 60 days. I mean, I don't know where he's been.
I think that's the first time I've talked to him.
Wow. Okay. Joe from Athens says lots of illegals here in Athens. Just go to a Walmart, listen to all the different languages, not just Spanish. Just saying they are here. Oh wow, Joe. Raven from Russellville. He says, by the way, Colonel. Oh, he says first of all, he says, ouch, that hits a nerve, Colonel. We were displaced, but in a different way. Yeah. He said if we wanted to apply for a job, a loan, or etc., we couldn't let it be known that we were Vietnam vets, especially SF. Still makes me mad. Then he says, by the way, Colonel, I want to thank you for all you do and all you've done for your country. Salute rendered. Raven, it is mutual, brother. We appreciate you, and thank you so much for what you've done, and welcome home. John from Brownsboro said, does the New York case against the bus lines for $700 million set a precedent for border states and townships to form a class action suit for their losses due to the federal government failing to uphold their mandates to enforce the laws? So here's my response to that. No, there won't be a class action. Do I believe that a state attorney general could get involved? Potentially. But that case that I'm seeing right now against the bus lines, if it's the same one you're talking about, is not a case in which we're looking at class action style. What you're looking at there is a city trying to enjoin the buses from bringing any more to their communities. What you got, man?
Well, I mean, that's the government's all in. It's all our money. It seems like, but I don't know putting blame on bus lines and stuff like that. It just
By the way, it's not your money until they tell you it is.
Yeah. So I do have a question from the Special Forces hat.
All right.
So how long you think it takes to get a formidable force at the volume of people coming across that border?
Huh.
You know, what do you think? Like 10,000 a month, a couple months, you got a pretty decent.
Let's see. If you have to mask them in the crowd, then what you're going to want is probably military-age males, right?
Yeah.
Reasonable health.
Yep.
Yeah. Distinguish themselves by coming across without families. Yeah. Within a crowd of 304,000 like you had, go ahead and figure that 40% of those were probably kids. All right, so whittle that down a little bit. Now you're at like, 170,000 people. Then 170,000, let's see. What does it take to have a division? Well, let's see. If you want a division of people, you're looking at probably it would take you, I'm going to say within 4 to 5 months, you've got a division of assets here in the United States. And then tell them what their rally point is. And this brigade's over here, that company's over there, these saboteurs are over there. Here's your go date. The cartels provided you with arms and ammunition. And it's a scary thought. Do I think they're that organized on a large scale? No, I think part of the design here is just to overwhelm our systems. Just overwhelm our systems and create unrest. Look what's happening in Europe. They riot when they don't get what they want now. Well, you're here illegally. You're an immigrant. You're not French. You're not German. You're not. We want more. You will give us more. And there are actually places in Paris now where the police won't go. They set up enclaves, and they run things under Sharia law or under the laws of or the customs of their country. And it's just, we can't have that. We can't. But to answer your question, I think we have far surpassed the ability to get a division of people across the border and then just tell them when to form up. So illegal displacement. Here's the story that kicked all this off for me. I got 2 stories here that broke in the last 2 days. This one on Daily Wire. City officials in New York City are evacuating 2,000 illegal immigrants from a tent shelter that was set up on an airfield due to high winds and moving them to a high school gym. So the kids were all told, don't come to school today. One teacher, a gym teacher, says, they told us we had to get everything out by 5 p.m., but they sent the email at 6 in the morning. I don't know when we're going to be able to be back. That same teacher said, what I want to know is why here?
Thank you, sir.
Why not send them somewhere where students would not be disrupted, where students' learning wouldn't be disrupted? Keep in mind, the tents that they were coming from were already on an airfield. So there's an airfield that is probably in some way unserviceable, or at the very least is being stretched in its capacities. They went from Brooklyn's Floyd Bennett Field to Brooklyn's James Madison High School. 2,000 illegals pushed the students out of their school. And I had a liberal troll this morning on my social media. Don't you care? What would Jesus do? Well, I'm pretty sure Jesus would have said, you know what, we're a nation of laws. But take care of those that are, I understand. I get it. I know what your point is. It's benevolence. It's taking care of people. Well, they're here now, so you don't want them to freeze to death, right? But did you have to displace the kids out of their school? Are you telling me there wasn't something else you could have used? Are you telling me there wasn't a hangar at the same airport where they were, put in their tent cities? Why didn't you displace a few airplanes out of the hangars? But no, you displaced 4,000 students from a high school. 4,000? Yes. So a local city councilwoman, a Democrat, took major issue with this and issued a statement blasting city and state officials saying our schools are not migrant shelters! Exclamation point. And went on to say there are approximately 4,000 students who attend James Madison High School. And their parents are rightfully concerned. Our constituents who live in the vicinity are concerned for their safety, their well-being. This will agitate local residents. It will disrupt the entire school environment, and it places a burden on our families, our students, and our school administrators and staff. Yes, it does. All the above. So 4,000 kids can't go to school so that 2,000 illegals can come off of an airfield where they were already stretching the resources and moved into the gym. Tell me why that makes sense. It doesn't make sense. But I've got one more story before the break. Oh, butters. Story on Fox News, Dateline today. Republicans accelerate their probe into the Biden administration's actions to house migrants on federal lands. So you got the story I just told you about. There was also, by the way, that was also part of Gateway National Recreation Area. So property located in New York City's Brooklyn borough, managed by the National Park Service. Oh, so it was a park facility paid for with tax dollars. Yes. According to Republicans, the White House's migrant housing plan appears to also disregard environmental concerns. How many times have they sent inspectors in to shut down a business, or to put regulations in place to make it difficult for farming, or to shut down military training because they found a red-cockaded woodpecker? In September, it says, amid the ongoing migrant surge at the southern border, the Department of the Interior agreed to lease out portions of the National Park Service's Floyd Bennett Field and then constructed temporary housing on the lands along the shores of Jamaica Bay. Republican leaders have pointed out that prior to the decision to lease the property, the Department of the Interior had been arguing that such an action itself would likely violate federal laws. They don't care. They're going to go ahead and displace U.S. citizens and do what they've got to do for the illegals. We'll come right back. I'll wrap this up. Don't keep in mind, by the way, top of the hour, Grand Council. We will cover down on that one. Yeah, it just gets thicker. I got more. It boggles the mind. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio. Y'all stay tuned. We will be right back. We are back. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio. Solid, conservative, and just plain right. Like making common sense like a superpower. Coming up in a few minutes after the top of the hour break, we will have the Grand Council with my brethren Jeff Poore and Dale Jackson, so stay tuned for that one. Got a few text messages, and I'll tell you a few things that are also in this dipper we're doing on illegal displacement. Mike from Harvest, he's talking about the Cloven Piven. I'm aware of that, and I think I probably need to do a whole monologue or something on that sometime soon. He says several divisions worth could have crossed. Oh, I agree. Several divisions. We were just speculating as could you get that many across? I'm thinking they would have masked them a little bit tighter and maybe have a division, but nonetheless, there's a whole bunch of saboteurs that could have crossed that border. JT Lacey Springs, what would Jesus do? Likely a miracle. JT, well put. Steve from Owens Crossroads, Colonel, I would be surprised if you have not slept in a tent in high winds and cold weather. We have the equipment and the means to house these people without displacing kids in school. You are so correct, man. Yes, I have slept in major winds, cold weather, and it's, you give them extra blankets and some space heaters. I mean, there's ways to do this. Raven from Russellville says, Butters, I want to also thank you for your service. I should have mentioned that earlier. He says, those big F4 phantoms rolling out of the clouds, Central Highlands, were an awfully welcome sight when our butts were in a sling. So, yeah.
I bet. I bet that would have been cool to see.
Thank you for your service, Butters. Gary from Decatur says, displacing students makes perfect liberal communist sense. Dumbing down our children is a huge part of their agenda, and the COVID lockdowns and distance learning follies showed that it worked better than they thought it would. Jeff from Indiana says, I think instead of hiring bus companies, take the illegals to New York, just give them enough money for an Uber and they can pay their own way in. Don't laugh, it's coming. Mike from Athens says, where is FEMA with all these illegals? What a great question. Now, here's the other question I have. Where's the United Nations with all these illegals? I thought the United Nations, the UNHCR, the United Nations High Council on Refugees, they set up tent cities everywhere in the world.
They don't have our money to pay for it.
They do have our money to pay for it. They just put it in other parts of the world. They just go in, U.S. will take care of it. U.S. will take care of it. U.S. will take care of it. Oh, by the way, where's our next check, please? So just so you know, and of course Schumer hasn't taken it up, but in December there was a bill passed that prevents federal funds from being used to house illegal immigrants on federal lands. It passed the House of Representatives, as we would expect, on party lines, I'm certain. But the Senate is not even bothering to respond to whether they're going to take it up. That story on Fox News came out a month ago. In the meantime, it is not just what's happening in like New York City with the school, right? Which is a major headline. Elon Musk is lashing out on that same issue today. But we just, by the way, had a breaking piece on social media. I'm looking at it right now. O'Hare Airport in Chicago says parts of the airport were sectioned off to house illegals. There were too many of them. They've now overflowed into the terminal area. The person's sources said they were mostly Hispanic men, and he was being asked not to record. So why are they trying to hide it? And I'm looking at the imagery right now. It's video, so it's real. They've got entire sections masked off with black curtains. Where do they find so many black curtains, by the way? But it's on there. Speaking of which, in Chicago, city officials, according to local WTTW, in October of this past year, city officials were met with anger and frustration at a 29th Ward community meeting about plans to convert what is known as the Emerson Park Fieldhouse into a migrant shelter. It's basically a community center. It's where Little League teams meet. It's where Boy Scout troops meet. It's where local citizens have taken a lot of pride in putting their tax dollars and their time and their sweat equity into making a nice community center. A lady named by the name of Zerlina Smith Members, who is described as the president of the Quincy Strong Block Club, said the community has poured its own time and resources into making the Emerson Park Fieldhouse what it is today. Said it means so much to Southside Chicago because it has so many programs, not just for our youth, but for our mothers, our parents, our seniors. That community is predominantly homeowners, people who have been there for years. They've invested their money and time in that park, buying air conditioners, providing uniforms for kids' programs. That park is a hub to the Black Austin community. And they're frustrated because right now they are finding out that there are plans in Chicago to convert that into a housing facility for illegals. Eric Adams, mayor of New York, suggested last summer that private citizens should begin housing illegals in their homes. That went nowhere. But then the last one you look at is a story in October that Heritage put out, Heritage Foundation. President Joe Biden would never come out and say, we value illegal immigrants more than we do our members of the military. But how come we're having so much trouble getting quality housing for military troops, and yet we're paying through the nose to house illegals in places like hotels in American cities? It's a great point. It needs to be asked on a regular basis. Illegal displacement. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio. Coming up next, the Grand Council, Jeff Poor, Dale Jackson, and just little old me. Y'all stay tuned. We'll be right back.
You're listening live to Rightside Radio with Phil Williams. It's hard to go wrong when you're on the right side. Rightside Radio. Solid, conservative, and just plain right.
Alabama's syndicated news talk leader, Rightside Radio. Phil Williams here live in the Rightside studios. Man, we got the local, the state, the national, sometimes the international. And yeah, like the dude just said, solid, conservative, and just plain right. Well, it is Wednesday afternoon, Wednesday, hump day. We play the camel. That also means, though, that at 4 o'clock we go to something we call the Grand Council. I bring in two of my brethren who have been doing talk radio longer than me. We ping each other with questions, and we just kind of see where the chips fall. So let me just go ahead and call the roll for the council. So from 770 AM, 92.5 FM WVNN out of Huntsville, Cumulus Broadcasting, program director guy, morning show guy, Dale Jackson, also writes for Yellowhammer. Dale, are you here?
Oh!
Outstanding. Stand by. Also, oh, by the way, from FM Talk 106.5, host of his own show, The Jeff Poor Show in the mornings, and also the editor-in-chief for 1819 News. Jeff Poor, are you here?
I'm present.
You are indeed, and we're glad of it. All right, I pronounce a quorum. Butters, hit it.
Assemble the Grand Council.
All right, a quorum being had, I'm going to go ahead and ask the first question this time. Senate District 9, Alabama State Senate District 9, special election held yesterday to replace Clay Schofield, who left the Senate to go work for the BCA. We had really a three-party race, but it was really between two current representatives, Wes Kitchens, Brock Colvin. Wes Kitchens was endorsed by the teachers union and then won the election. So I question you this, gentlemen. Is the AEA back in power? That's my question for you. Dale, you first.
I don't know if back in power is the right way to say it, but they definitely got a win. I mean, so they give them a victory there. That's one more for them in the Senate, so they should be happy. But, I mean, I think the message is worth more than the win, right? We can drag Republicans over the finish line if we want to. I mean, it was a blowout, 52, 38, 9, whatever. Maybe there's not a runoff, or maybe there is a runoff if the AEA is not involved. Doesn't matter. They get to claim a victory, and they have one more friendly voice in the Senate than they had before. And the Senate is, they need to have a supermajority in order to get some of the stuff they want done on school choice, and that seems harder now.
Jeff, your thoughts?
I don't think that. I think a lot of Republicans are a little misguided on the AEA right now. That the AEA is not the campaign kryptonite that it used to be for Republicans. You could associate a Republican with the AEA, and maybe you were doing some real damage there. I just think people shrug it off now. Maybe they've always shrugged it off, and this was just something that we kind of invented in our heads, in our bubble here. But I thought they were trying, the Colvin guys maybe tried a little bit to make that an issue, and it just didn't really do anything.
Well, so did it not do anything because Colvin didn't have the money to put into it, or did it not do anything because it wasn't a thing? That's go back to that real quick.
Well, no, I think they tried to fly under the radar. They did. They micro-targeted teachers. It's pretty clear that was what was underway there. And, like, oh, look who's taking money from the special interest here. It's this Kitchens guy. And I think the electorate was kind of like, so what?
Yeah, I think that there's been a softening. I don't know what to say overall to the AEA, but partly because the deal when they've not been able to beat you up for the last few years, they feel less threatening, and then when they come back in, you're like, well, it's just the AEA. Well, I think if this had been 2012, 2013, 2014 even, this would have been the antithetical to a good race for Wes Kitchens. Does it mean I like it? No. I mean, I'm personally of the mind that one of the most evil organizations in this state that has done more harm than anybody else's organization is going to be the AEA. Are they fully back in power? I don't think so. I think they had an opportunistic opportunity. I wonder, let me ask you this real quick, guys, before we go to the next question. Was Stacey George a spoiler for Brock Colvin, or was it going to be Wes Kitchens' race anyway?
I mean, I don't think Stacey George, really plays that much of a factor. And if you get over 52, you get over 52, right?
That's my question. Would it have changed the dynamics of the race at all, Jeff?
No, not at all.
Okay.
Maybe he took away from more right-leaning conservatives that small percentage, but that's why there's no runoff. There's no doubt. Kitchen still would have won.
I wait to see how it'll play in a major general, because this is a special election. If they micro-targeted a pretty good population, which teachers are, and they actually got some traction on that, then the AEA had a leg up, because strange things happen in a special election, and this may be that. Then again, I hope it doesn't portend bad things. Dale Jackson, take the next question.
All right. This question may not be too serious of a question, but I'm going to ask it anyway. Kamala Harris has her own scent. What does Joe Biden smell like?
Excuse me? She has her own scent?
Yeah, you didn't hear the story?
No.
She apparently has like a signature scent that they use at different events, and she got upset because the senator from Padilla, the senator from California, wanted to use some version of that scent, and she got all upset about it, apparently. So
Is that so the dogs can track her better? What is happening here?
I don't know. I have no idea. But my question is, what do you think Joe Biden smells like?
I don't know. Something like old underwear and pudding. I don't know. What a strange question, Dale. What do I think Joe Biden? I think he's too busy smelling little kids' hair to have his own
I figured
scent.
you were going to dismiss that question out of hand, so I had a second one ready to go. So here's the second one. Is Michelle Obama really waiting in the wings? I'm hearing more and more of this, but you hear this kind of crazy stuff all the time about Michelle Obama, Michelle Obama, Michelle Obama. Is she really waiting in the wings, and what does she smell like?
Yeah, okay. There's a fascination with smells today, but so is she waiting in the wings? I don't know, and I say that because I do think she's trying to be a kingmaker. I do think she's trying to be an influencer. There's that, absolutely. There's no other reason for her to do some of what she's doing without an intent to be an influencer. Whether she ever intends to run or not, I don't know. Who knows? Hillary did. Maybe that's the model. Jeff?
I don't know. Is Michelle Obama waiting in the wings? No, I don't think so. And she doesn't seem as ambitious as Hillary, and maybe she could raise some money, but I don't think she. I mean, Hillary was just like driven, like it was like like the Holy Sacrament or something. And I don't see that same kind of fire from Michelle Obama.
I don't either. I think Michelle Obama also knows she could watch what happens to the Trump family and to the Clinton family and wonder why she would ever want to leave her luxury surroundings to go and put herself through that. And then, oh, by the way, knowing full well that they all become targets again. I don't think so. And by the way, just full credit to Butters here in the studio, who wrote me a note and says the Secretary of Defense needs his own scent so they can keep track of him.
There you go.
Hey guys, I'm gonna interrupt this because Nick Saban just announced he's retiring.
What?
That was gonna be my next question. Is that really happening? Apparently, it is.
Yeah, it's from several sources now. So Saban
What's he smell like?
Out. Shut up, Dale. Nick Saban.
Well, I tell you what, they're partying down on the plains right now. There's that.
They're partying everywhere.
Well, except for the Strip downtown, yeah.
So Saban is retiring. Well, then that brings me to another point. And Jeff, I'm going to use your breaking news as your storyline to take a thread with. There's allegedly going to be an announcement by Chris Christie any minute now suspending his campaign. So there's two major. Well, I'll take it back. There's one major announcement.
Don't conflate Saban retiring with Chris Christie's failed presidential run. What is wrong with you?
Well, I mean,
what does Chris Christie smell like?
There's a question we all want to know, like tacos or something. I don't know. This is quickly devolving. Jeff, did you have a real question, or are you just going to go ahead and harangue us on Nick Saban?
You gotta say something about Saban retiring, okay? I just like there's nothing that is going to measure up to that in Alabama right now.
Well, you and I are both
Auburn
Auburn
I was going to
fans,
ask
but yes.
if that was real. I was going to ask if that was real because people I've seen that online. I just didn't know if that was a real thing, but apparently it is. Okay, wow. I thought he was. Didn't he say like 3 days ago that people only ask him that because he's old and he's not going anywhere, and now he's leaving?
What? I look at it and think, why didn't he retire 3 years ago? Take the national championship and go to the house.
$8 million a year, $10 million a year, and the fact that he's awesome.
Look how many people got this wrong, though. Oh, Paul Feinbaum. Oh, all these guys. Yeah, Saban's not going to go out with a loss to Michigan or what. Well, guess what? You don't have your finger on the pulse. Here's the question: who's the next coach down there?
The next coach down there, you looking? I don't know. Wow, coming in from Clemson. What am I trying to say?
Dabo.
Yeah. I'm
not
thinking,
Lane Kiffin.
Not Lane Kiffin. No, I don't think Lane Kiffin comes in.
I like the Kirby Smart play there.
Kirby Smart would be a smart play, but I don't know if Kirby's going to leave Georgia right now. I think he's building an empire.
There's no talk about him going to Atlanta.
When Auburn's looking for a coach, they tried to bring Vince Dooley to Auburn in the early '80s, and he did not go to Auburn, even though Auburn was his alma mater.
I heard Gene Chizik was looking at Alabama.
I bet he is. So am I.
All right, fellas, I'm calling that for round one. We got to take it to a break right now. We'll do that. We're right here in the Grand Council with Jeff Poore from 1819 News and FM Talk 106.5 down in Mobile, and Dale Jackson from WVNN in Huntsville, and Yellowhammer, and just little old me. Y'all stay tuned. We'll be right back. we are back. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio. Solid, conservative, and just plain right. Going right back to the Grand Council with Jeff Poor from FM Talk 106.5 and 1819 News. Dale Jackson from WVNN up in Huntsville. And also with Yellowhammer News. And I'm going to get the next question, round two. Question one. All right, here's the deal, fellers. Vivek Ramaswamy. I think one of my favorite moments of this campaign, even though I don't think he is going to be the guy, he just destroyed a liberal reporter trying to ding him on something to do with white supremacy, and just destroyed the person, but destroyed them with class, I felt like. And so I don't know if anybody's more loquacious than that guy. That guy can put out words like nobody's business. I mean, but why don't more, here's my question for you, why don't more candidates take it to the press as opposed to kowtowing to them and trying to answer their questions? Jeff, you first.
Two reasons. I think the first reason is they don't have that ability. They're not not saying they're dumb people, but they're just not as quick-witted as Ramaswamy seems to be. And I probably haven't really thought much about, how do I counter the press, But and then the second one is I just think everything's so consulted to death, and they say you don't want to look that way, and they overthink these things. Where I think if you try to win a Republican primary, that's a good look. But then again, Ramaswamy's he's the lowest of the remaining candidates, so maybe there's something to that.
Yeah, he might pick up a 1% from Christie dropping out here in the next 5 minutes. But
wait a minute, a second ago, Christie was Nick Saban. Now all of a sudden, because Christie only has one thing. Oh,
well, he's got a funny scent, so there's that.
Please, Phil, please be serious.
What are you thinking? Ramaswamy tearing down the press. Why don't more candidates do it? Dale Jackson, your thoughts?
I don't know. It's one of the great things about Donald Trump and Ron DeSantis, too. Their ability to take on the press, fight them, punch them repeatedly, and come out on the other side pretty well off. I like it when Ramaswamy does it. I like it when DeSantis does it. I like it when Trump does it. They're all very good at this, and there's probably a lesson there in this for Republican candidates. You do not have to play their stupid little game. Punch them right in the mouth. Metaphorically, of course, and then, literally.
and then literally, like after the campaign's over.
Yeah.
I agree. I think there's also a confidence issue here. You got to be able to look someone in the eye and say what's on your mind, whether it's on their mind or not. And that only comes through practice, and it comes through having some measure of self-confidence. And I think. I'll be honest with you. I think Trump does it well. I think DeSantis does it well, to your point, Dale. But I think Ramaswamy still does it better than any of them. Best I've seen since back in the days when you would see Newt Gingrich running, and he would do that to him. Next question, I think, goes to Dale.
Jeff Poor's best friend, Oliver Darcy, at CNN, threw a hissy fit the other day, demanding that Disney stop Aaron Rodgers from smearing the good name of Jimmy Kimmel. And Jimmy Kimmel, of course, attacked Aaron Rodgers, and then Aaron Rodgers attacked him back. And now they have kicked Aaron Rodgers off Pat McAfee's show. What in the world's going on here? Let these guys go at it in public, have an arena of ideas, beat each other up. Why is the left so unable and unwilling to engage in back and forths over the issues of the day? They have to shut people down. And why did Jeff become so close to Oliver Darcy? What's that about?
Well, before Jeff chimes in on your accusations of closeness, I think part of it is there's a lack of humor on the left. They have lost their sense of humor. When trigger words were allowed to be a thing, comedy went out the door. And when words can hurt me actually became a mantra for them, then next thing you know, don't use my wrong pronouns. I mean, if you can't even use the right pronoun with somebody, without causing great offense, then what in God's name are they ever going to do when Aaron Rodgers actually speaks his mind and says, go get your shots or whatever else he comes up with? Jeff?
No idea what you're talking about on the Oliver Darcy accusation here, but I'll say this. I don't know that it's necessarily a cultural thing with ESPN. They are left and they are liberal and they are goofballs, but corporate America holds these guys hostage in sports. Look at how left the sports world has gone in the last 10, 15 years. And I think they're afraid of losing advertisers. It's because especially like ESPN that's cash poor right now. They're afraid that's going to cost some advertisers. They have dumped a ton of money into that McAfee program. That's how they have Aaron Rodgers and Saban on every week. So I just think they cut ties. It has probably a lot more to do with these goofball left wingers on Madison Avenue to make advertising decisions than it does anything in the culture of ESPN.
I actually heard they're bringing Dylan Mulvaney in to replace Aaron Rodgers, and because
I thought she was on CNN.
because he has his personal scent. Did you call Dylan Mulvaney a she just now,
All
Dale?
right.
I was talking about Caitlin Collins, Jeff's other good friend.
Jeff, you got about less than a minute, man. What's your question? You got a quick one?
They're trying to unionize Mercedes-Benz
Yes.
down in Vance. That's a big deal. The governor's already out swinging on it. This is going to be fun to watch. But what would unionization mean to Alabama's auto industry?
Well, we're a right-to-work state, so I guarantee you the union busters are already being hired. But I would say that that's going to have a dramatic impact if one of the basically the landmark cases that we've got for bringing automotive to the state is Mercedes, and if it goes union, then they're going to be cheering in Detroit. What we got, Dale?
Yeah, one of the hooks is that it's a right to work state. That's why they're coming here. You take that away, and you've got yourself a bit of a different problem, and that's pretty unfortunate. I think this will resolve itself pretty cleanly in favor of no unionization.
I would tend to agree. If they can't even unionize all the Starbucks, I mean, my gosh.
Well, up the road, guys, Amazon tried it, not maybe a 20-minut drive.
Oh, it was a goat rodeo.
Amazon got beat twice.
Yeah, it was a goat rodeo. They couldn't even figure out where the boxes were. All right, fellers, appreciate you both. That's Jeff Poor from FM Talk 106.5 down in Mobile, host of the Jeff Poor Show, and, oh, by the way, the editor-in-chief for 1819 News. Dale Jackson up in WVNN in Huntsville, Dale Jackson's show, and, oh, by the way, with Yellowhammer News. And just me. All right, Phil Williams, Rightside Radio, coming back with what's going on with Nick Saban. I think we have a mini dipper. Y'all stay tuned. We'll be right back. Hey, all you Rightside ruffians out there, you are listening to Rightside Radio, solid conservative, just plain right. And we are back. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio, solid conservative and just plain right. I mean, like covering down on some major ground across the northern half of the most beautiful state in the nation. This one right here, Alabama. Y'all, this show goes like way down south of Birmingham, up north of Huntsville and Tuscaloosa, back to Gadsden, parts of Georgia, Tennessee, even Mississippi, all thrown in just for good measure. Well, we had some breaking news a moment ago. And I reached out to somebody who was on the show for the first time yesterday, and I just said, hey, you want to call back in? So momentarily, I mean, literally right now, Chris Christie is speaking, announcing he's suspending his campaign. Nobody is crying. But the other retirement that is coming up right now is that we're hearing right now from moments ago from Sports Illustrated, ESPN, several others, that Alabama head coach Nick Saban, 7-time national champion, is retiring. And Hannah Stevens, often known as the UA Sign Girl, is on the phone right now to give us her immediate perspective. Hannah Stevens, how you doing?
I've been better, Phil. How are you?
I'm an Auburn fan, so I'm doing great.
You're like, oh, we actually have hope now. Oh, yeah. I don't think Auburn fans have been this happy since the kick six, to be honest.
It just may be a banner day for us. I don't know. But so what do you know? What do you think is going to happen here?
Well, a couple of things. So I have had. Can you still hear me?
Yeah, I got you.
Okay. I have had my phone's kind of blowing up. I have had speculation for the last couple of weeks through little tidbits here and there from people who are close to the program, as am I, and have had speculation that this year, either this year or next year, was going to be the year that Nick Saban chose to retire. But after the Rose Bowl, I did not think that he was going to be done. I honestly thought, okay, he's going to give it 1 or 2 more years. You know, we're going to end on a national championship win, and, you know, because next year is supposed to be in Atlanta, right? So I was like, we'll have 1 more year, and we can kind of prepare. We can kind of give it our all and win that championship, he can be done. But to find out today, I mean, it was a gut punch. I mean, my first emotion was to cry because you're kind of in shock, right? Like, you never think this is actually going to happen. And I'll be honest with you, as much as Auburn fans are happy, Alabama fans, I mean, it feels like a punch in the gut. This is what we felt like after the kick six, honestly. Like, as much as y'all are happy, we're devastated because this is hard. I mean, I don't know what Alabama's future looks like now, and that is a scary thought.
Well, he came in. I mean, he's how many years has he been at Bama now? I mean, I remember he coming in the late 90s?
2007.
2007.
Yeah.
I was thinking, okay, I had adding time on, but he's 72 years old. I mean, and so I look at it and go, just on age alone, I would think that he'd want to see his grandkids. I would think that he'd want to enjoy the opportunity to be a spectator, a fan. I guarantee you, he's going to be commentating somewhere. But so. Do we know anything about the retirement? Is it like I won't be there next season, or I've announced that I have 1 season left? What's he saying?
Yeah, from what I understand, he just spoke with the team about an hour or so ago, and he told them he was retiring. From what I've been told, it is as of now.
Okay.
Now, I don't know anything more. I don't know if it's just because he's tired or if it's health-related. I mean, I don't know any of those details, but I do know that he is officially done at Alabama. And I don't know if I'm hoping that he's going to be a part of the program, maybe like a mentor or an advisor or something like that, you know, like maybe even come on as an analyst for Alabama. I have no idea, but it's just going to be different. And I will say, speaking with some of my intel, that Dan Lanning, Oregon's head coach, seems to be the front runner for the head coaching position. And honestly, I'll just say this. Personally, and I know I'm going to get a lot of slack for this, personally, if I could pick a head coach to, you know, come to Alabama, it would honestly be Lane Kiffin. Because I think when you look at an individual who has not only respected Alabama, who not only has had their life changed by Nick Saban, but who has continuously been loyal to the university, it would be Lane Kiffin. I mean, he has defended Nick Saban numerous times. He has every year given him credit for where he's at. And I just feel like the way, and I mean, when you look back at Lane Kiffin, Phil, and a lot of people didn't like him. A lot of people thought he was, you know, an immature person, and maybe he was, right? But we all change and grow. But you have to give him credit where credit's due. If Lane Kiffin would have never come to Alabama, in the position he was in, we would not have quarterbacks like Blake Barnett, Jalen Hurts, Tua Tagovailoa, because he helped change the standard at Alabama. He helped change us from going from a pro-style quarterback to a dual-threat quarterback. And so Lane Kiffin has a vision for Alabama. And I don't know if Dan Lanning's the guy. I don't know. But I do know that he is the front runner right now, so we'll see.
So let me ask you this.
No matter, yeah.
So two questions. One is, and I don't think he'll leave there, but you think Lane Kiffin over Kirby Smart?
Yes, I do, because I think Kirby Smart is in a very cushy, comfortable position. I think Kirby Smart is kind of the Nick Saban of Georgia. I feel like he has power, he has dominance, he kind of controls a lot, and see. Nick Saban, it took him a while to get there, but I think when you look at how Nick Saban evolved to Alabama, he won people over time. He didn't come in and demand things in the beginning, but he won respect, and with respect comes authority and power in football. And, Nick Saban wasn't controlled by boosters. He wasn't controlled by media. He wasn't controlled by people that said you can and can't do your program like this. And Kirby Smart's kind of in that same position at Georgia. I don't see him as of right now coming over here because I feel like he has unfinished business at Georgia, and if he leaves right now, it's going to put a sour taste in people's mouth.
All right, so I just Googled it just to check. Dan Lanning's only 37 years old. So you think, obviously he's had a good showing. Bo Nix is, was a tier 1 candidate for the Heisman. He's had some opportunities to coach, but he's also only 37 years old. So do you think the trustees at UA are gonna take a gamble on somebody who's at mid-career as opposed to senior career?
Well, I'll say this: there are a couple of positions I wouldn't want to be in. One is having to choose the next head coach, and the second one is going to be the next head coach at Alabama, because those are impossible shoes to fill.
That's
and I feel like at this time and point, you have to look at the dynasty Alabama's been given. And I'll say this from not only a former ESPN sports broadcaster opinion, but as a fan, I'm more concerned about the recruits. Like, you can bring in a coach, but what does this look like for players, that are about to come to Alabama, right? You have some on campus like Julian Sain and some of these guys who came for bowl prep and are there for this fall. But what is this going to do for the next 2-3 year recruits that have already committed to Alabama? But regardless of who you get, I think the committee, the trustees, Greg Burns, all of their position and their communication is simply going to have to be, this is not Nick Saban. Like, we know, regardless of if we get Dan Lanning or Kirby Smart or Lane Kiffin, it's always going to be different.
By the way, I'm hearing my intel says that Mike DuBose wants his old job back.
No.
Okay, next question then. Dan Lanning, one more time on that. So Are you sure that he's aware that Alabama only has 2 colors and 2 uniforms, away and home? That's all they have.
I know. It's kind of insane because it's like, I guess that's kind of the history of Alabama, though, because you look at all these teams. You look at Michigan, who has Jordan, right? Like, they're sponsored by Jordan. Then you have, like, Baylor, who has 150 different colors as well, and then Oregon. But the Crimson Tide lives on tradition. That is one of the number one adjectives and, words that you use to describe Alabama is just tradition. And I feel like that is going to be hard for any person to come in and fill the role of Nick Saban, because it's going to be different, and no one ever. I don't know. I'm getting more word as time goes on, and I have POCs and Tuscaloosa that are like, some of them are like, yeah, this has been going on a couple of weeks, and some of them said, hey, this is actually sudden, like we found out like earlier this morning. So as word comes out more and more, I think we'll kind of get an idea. I like to think that Nick Saban has prepared, people to kind of have an idea of who they can hire. But, I don't know. Whoever it is, I don't know. I don't know.
It's an impossible act to follow. Following Bear Bryant was, we always thought that was impossible. It took several layers of coaching to get down to Nick Saban.
Yep.
But then he created an empire. I agree with you. I think it's going to be next to impossible. I do not envy anybody who has to follow and act like that. And again, as an Auburn fan, I look forward to watching it.
I have no doubt. And it'll be interesting to see. I know y'all have gotten some of our recruits, and y'all may be getting more now that they're like, well, Alabama, because, this is the first time, Phil. You look at every SEC coach, every SEC program, since Nick Saban's arrival, none have had the same coach. I mean, they've all had to do what now we're having to do, which is pivot and figure out, okay, what does this look like for our program? Obviously, now you have Hugh Freeze. Maybe he's the guy for y'all, maybe not. But Alabama is having to do something for the first time since 2007, and that is figure out who the next head coach is going to be. And, I'll say this, some people didn't want Nick Saban still. I mean, when you look back in 2007, some people are like, really? You're getting a guy from Miami, the same guy who won a national championship at LSU? Why do we want him here? The guy from Michigan? But look at what he did. So my point is going to be, no matter who, and I like to think Nick Saban's going to have a hand in who's hired, but regardless of who they announce as head coach, my role is simply going to be supporting, because I remember having people in my life begrudging Nick Saban when he first arrived, especially when we lost to Louisiana Monroe in 2007. And I have no doubt that the next couple of years may be a little bit of that. We may lose 2, 3, 4 games in a season, but you got to give them time, because they're not Nick Saban. And, that's just going to be our new reality for a while.
Well, Hannah Stevens, UA Sign Girl, first of all, thank you for just jumping on the phone with us with breaking news. I mean, this is like fresh. So you're giving us the full-on perspective. In the meantime, have a good night anyway. The sun will still rise tomorrow, my friend.
That's right, and roll tide forever.
All right, we'll see you, Hannah. Talk to you sometime soon.
Thank you, you too.
All right. Wow, man! I tell you what, there's no way in the world I could keep up with her on sports. You know what? I mean, I feel like there's topics that I can run rings around some people on. She's got everybody I know in the world collaboratively runs ring around all of them on sports.
Yeah, she clearly knows what she's talking about. So 2 questions or 2 thoughts come to my mind. Yep. Number 1, are we rolling tumors? and number 2. Only in Alabama does a Republican presidential candidate announcing his dropout of the presidential race for 2024 get surpassed by a football coach retiring, and everybody's okay with it on a political talk radio show.
Well, it
was the proper thing to do.
It was Chris Christie, and he has his own scent, so there's that.
There's that. But God bless Alabama football. Only in Bama.
Well, all right. SEC football is about to change. I guarantee freaking to you that the trustees knew enough to know this is already happening, and the search committee was already formed, and the names are already being drawn out of the pot. And truthfully, there are great coaches out there right now that are hoping they get called so they can leverage this for an opportunity for a bigger salary where they are, because no one wants to come and fill those shoes and follow Nick Saban. So there's a whole lot of coaches that are going to wind up getting a bump in pay to stay where they are, and at the same time, there's going to be some that are like, could I go to the SEC, or could I swap in the SEC? I don't know, man. It's going to be interesting. All I know is you and I are Auburn fans, and we're having a good day. All right, we're taking a break right now. Last break of the day. This is a heck of a day for a one-dipper day, bro. How did that happen? It's all good. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio. Y'all stay tuned. We'll be right back. are back. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio, solid conservative and just plain right. I mean, like making common sense like a superpower. By the way, before I go any further, let me tell you who else has got some superpower, and that's the folks at Southern Immediate Care. So Southern Immediate Care is a chain of clinics that covers a huge swath of our huge listening area. Southern Immediate Care with locations like Gadsden, Anniston, Atala, 6 locations around the Birmingham area. More on the way is what I'm told. Southern Immediate Care, open 7 days a week, y'all. 7 days a week. You get sick on a Saturday morning, what do? Wait till Monday? No. Southern Immediate Care. You check out the location nearest to you and head on down. And they will see all ages. So pediatric to geriatric, I always say. And listen, this is who I use personally. I say that with all sincerity. This is who I use personally. And I asked them to advertise because I was so pleased. It's not the other way around. So I'd literally, every time I walk in the door, it's like clean, friendly, professional. Get you in, get you out. Southern Immediate Care. You check them out. And by the way, if you go on down there, do me a favor. Tell them you heard about it on Rightside Radio. I would appreciate that. Text messages are flowing like water. Chris from Gadsden says, I'll be willing to take the heat and the scorn of being the coach who follows Saban. I will work for a much reduced salary of merely $2 million. Chris, I feel certain you might make it through the first game or the first practice, at least.
I'm down.
Make sure your buyout is good. What?
I'm down for that.
You're down for that?
Yeah.
Just a $2 million? Shoot, why not, man? I'll tell you what, we'll go down there and co-coach. It'll be great.
Yeah.
Of course, that would be considered a subversive saboteur attempt by having 2 Auburn fans show up to do that. John from Huntsville, my texter just decided to reboot. What are we doing here, texter? Anyway, as the text reboots, let me just tell you, we got 2 dippers that are still in the hopper right now that I'm going to be getting to tomorrow because they're good ones.
You want me to read John's?
Yeah, read John's because my texter decided just to reboot and it's still going.
Butters and Phil, you both get a supersized A+++, and I think I almost had a heart attack when I heard Nick Saban is retiring. It sounds too good to be true. Also, if it's true, I'm a little bit worried that Nick Saban is going to run for president as a Democrat and win.
Holy crap. Wait, hang on a second. Maybe he's going to be Trump's vice president. Or maybe he'll endorse now. By the way, didn't he have some Democrat leanings at one point in the not so distant past? Oh my gosh. This just in time.
I don't think Nick Saban wants to play with.
Wait a minute. Maybe they're trying to get rid of Biden and they needed a shoe-in, and so they went and they got the Saban.
I mean, didn't Nick kind of just poo-poo some of the politics of college football? You think he really wants to play with national?
I guarantee you he'd wear the press out, though, don't you know? He'd make Vivek Ramaswamy look like a minor league guy.
I bet he could square Hunter Biden away, too.
I bet he could. Mark from Laredo, Tennessee says, Phil gets an A++ today. Whoop, whoop. Thank you, brother. Appreciate you. And thank you, John from Huntsville. David from Huntsville said, who did Hannah say would be the lead for my texter keeps rebooting, but I had half the text and it decided to reboot. So Hannah said Coach Lanning from Oregon was who she believes is going to wind up. And she, by the way, when she says she has intel, she's got intel.
Yeah, she's no joke. I mean, she mentioned doing ESPN commentating, and that was a lot of fun. So we actually got a call from Roughly Ann to
what'd she say
to get her on more regularly.
Oh yeah. Well, you know what? Just keep that.
It's a good segment.
Just keep that thought going,
especially if Nick Saban runs for president.
My texter is being extremely ornery right now. So what did I have there from Sean from Madison?
Belichick to Alabama.
Oh, I hear that Belichick's falling out of favor with New England. So hey, maybe there's something there. Does he have to wear the cutoff sweatshirts when he coaches on the sidelines at Bama? Will the trustees let that happen? I don't know.
It's just going to be really interesting.
It's going to be madness. All right, what else you got there in the text lines? I can't see them.
Let's see here. Brian from Huntsville is a huge Bama fan. Since as long as I can remember, I want Kirby Smart to replace Nick Saban, but I don't think he will because I think he's right where he wants to be. I
think and I am not nearly as versed as Hannah Stevens, but I agree with her, and I said it earlier during the Grand Council that I think Kirby Smart is building his own dynasty over there in Georgia right now, and they love him. and he's got a national championship under his belt most recently. I think that he stays where he is. And when you take Florida State 63-3, even though they had all of their opt-outs, I think that still shows his program was could very well have been a national champion.
So with 30 seconds to go, we've been saying 2024 was going to be pretty chaotic.
Starting off fast. I got speed wrinkles. It's like flying in a Huey with the doors open right now.
Ooh. This is going to get interesting.
All right, we're going nap of the earth, brother. I'm telling you, it's going to be game on. All right, we got big doings tomorrow. You guys stay tuned. I will update the dippers that are still on my desk, and I'm looking for a woke world, so I'll do all I can because John just prompted me, and I agree with it. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio. Y'all have a great night. We'll see you tomorrow.